days you want to go, what time you want to leave, what airport you want to fly out of, And again, this is how it affects me. May not be that way for everybody, but it's debilitating, in different ways. And then sometimes, like even now, it's just like you have no energy. You just don't feel like doing anything. But then you want to do stuff. Like this is, I don't think when you're maybe not deeply depressed, you want to, your mind, you're willing, but you're, not able, if that makes any sense. A lot of times you can't make people understand who never experienced it,
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough.
I mean, they say, some of the reviews say that I do it in the book. I don't know. I hope that's true. I hope that's true. And I don't know that I was even aware, because I was doing stuff like during that period of that I referenced about, okay, so then it was a year off and then 2 years. And the first year that I decided to take off and it was with my son Ford was great. Oh my God, I was so happy. I was walking to school every day. We had just gotten a puppy, and my dog, who I just came outside because he was barking and I didn't want to interrupt him, but he's 11 now. But and he's still like with me all the time. But I would, walk the dog, I walk Ford. We were so happy. And then the next year, I was still great. And then the third year, I started drinking too much, and I started shopping too much. But I wasn't really aware of it. Like my mother pointed it out, the drinking especially. And I was like, it's just, it's fine. So I'm saying all this to say, I wasn't conscious of being sucked under, and I think that's what we do too. We drink too much, we shop too much, we eat too much. And then some people never look up and say, oh, maybe I should, chill out with this song. But I knew, I guess, and then I was just straight up sad. I became straight up sad because I was bored, because I was just like, walking into the school. I wasn't writing, and I didn't realize how much of that how much a part of it of me that was, and not doing it was a big deal. I didn't realize that. I know that may sound stupid to people who are like, okay, she's a writer, but I just didn't, I was, and I think I was trying to be somebody else. I was like, okay, I got 2 kids, I live in the suburbs, I got this house, let me, I guess it's kind of a repeat of high school. Let me try to be, one of those moms, those moms who, work the bake sale, and they're, at the soccer games, and they're, always the snack mom, and, all that. Let me do that. And I did that. And I felt sick to my stomach most of the time.
Did you know it at the time that this was not good for you?
It was kind of like an ill-fitting garment, but, no, I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. And then, gradually I started, and then it was like, okay, so it's menopause. That's what it is. That's why I feel like this. And then I started exercising like crazy, and then it got a little bit better. And I wasn't writing, and I wasn't really thinking about writing. I was like a gym rat. And then that wore off. I mean, I was still going to the gym, but the feeling, the sort of endorphins kind of leveled out. So it was a gradual thing, and then you look up and you're in the middle of a damn ocean and you can't swim.
Yeah. When you were going through this tailspin, downward spiral, the throes of this horrific thing that we call depression, that a lot of people say that word really does not begin to describe what this is. You were married, and your husband was there. He was supportive, or at least as supportive as anyone can be when they're not the person going through it. Right. What was that like?
When you say that, it's like, yeah, he really was, and he is sort of a poster child for like not depression. At least he was. Now he's more cranky, but He's still, I don't think depression is anywhere near. He is sort of an optimistic up personality. And what was it like for him? I didn't know this at the time. This came out later that it was terrifying for him. He was really scared. He was scared I was going to do something to myself. He was scared I wasn't ever going to come out of it. But at the time, he was just kind of there, and he would go to work, and I would be in the bed. He'd come home, and I would be in the bed. And, I would get up from the bed, and I would go in the basement, and I'd get on the sectional, on the couch, and I'd watch TV. And he never lost patience, at least to me. He never said, yelled or, said, get over it, or, he would make suggestions that would piss me off, like, oh, he would say, well, you just need to write, or maybe you need to, see somebody, or maybe you see somebody else, or, like a therapist, or, that kind of stuff. You need to get out more. But he wasn't mean, and he didn't seem impatient. And that was pretty amazing.
Looking back, what would have been the thing to say to Benilde at that time? Or was there anything?
You just want someone to say, God, that must be really awful. And to just listen, and sometimes when you don't feel like talking, just to be there. For the most part, my girlfriends were pretty amazing, and they didn't really know what it, felt like, but they would just kind of, a lot of them, I think now, they just figured it was like grief. And it was grief, but it was grief that morphed into, that became clinical depression.
Being caught between elder care and child care. You were getting pulled from both ends and in the middle because you're in a relationship, you're married. So there's that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, the marriage took a big hit. The marriage, I was not present in the marriage. And again, I only know that after the fact when we went to counseling. And that was the thing that my husband kept saying. But he never said that at the time, because I guess he just figured, she's going through stuff. I'm not going to put any demand, and he's going to let it be. And I used to say to people, I feel like a panini. My mother was in and out of the hospital. My dad, who, bless his heart, was trying to take care of her, but he couldn't take care of her. They were both in their 80s. Turns out he was losing his mind. Now he's full-blown dementia. And even if you're not like running to the hospital, if you're not like running to see them all the time, it's that worry all the time, and you were the point person. So I had that, and I had, young kids. I had a very young son at the time, and my daughter was probably in late elementary school, early middle school. So I felt stuck. I thought there was no option. It was just me, and I had to figure it out. I had to endure it.
And you ultimately figured something out. Ultimately figured out something to do to get through it. What was that, and how did that come about?
It wasn't like I sat down and said, okay, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write about it. At the time, it was just once, I guess things started, maybe after my mother died, I just started taking notes. And not even, again, not consciously, but just writing on the paper wherever. And, or writing, typing in my, laptop about whatever, seeing my kids walk down the driveway holding hands, or, moments of grace, or just moments of extreme frustration and anger, pretty much all that stuff made it into the book. And I think this is where the sort of spooky spiritual stuff came in. And I think my mother probably entered the room. Of course, she was dead now, but this was when her spirit kind of was infused in me. She was very much my biggest supporter and fan, and believed in my work.
So it sounds like you got back to And you talked about this at the beginning when we first started this conversation about the idea of balance and what you need for you. Is that what happened?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I had become a total like housefrau. No offense to women who do it full time, but for me, I had, I was going to the supermarket, I was making dinner, I was picking up from lacrosse, I was dropping off at soccer, I was, that was my life. And that wasn't working for me. That doesn't work for me. I mean, I do all that now too, still, but I have my other, my work. But I also think that's part of having, sort of managing depression is making sure you get enough rest. I think, that's big. And it's not like I've got it all figured out either, I mean, it's definitely like wisdom that I know that I have, but I don't know what that looks like.
Final thoughts, Benilde?
Yeah, I think I've given you all the thoughts I have, Dave. Yeah, I mean, I feel I'm in a good place right now, but I think that, what I'm trying to give myself and people, I wrote this book as much for myself as I did for other people, is to give people permission to be who they are and to own all their stuff. We have all kinds of ish, it's not all good. And that's fine. That's being human. And I, like I said, I say that that it would be my advice to anyone listening, and that's my advice to myself. Now, of course, I don't always listen to my own advice, but when I do, I feel fine. And does that mean I feel good all the time? Nope. I still, like I just told you before, I mean, this weekend was really hard, and I felt myself, kind of falling back down. And it's a terrifying feeling, because you just don't want to go to that place. But I also know the harder I fight it, the worse it is. The more I say, okay, come here, sit down, let's, just sit down, then it's going to be okay.
Tease that out just a bit. There's something to, there seems, the idea of not clamping down on it and fighting it and trying to contain it, but sort of letting it flow through you and just being with it.
Yeah.
Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, because you think about it. I mean, whenever you try to hold on too tight, I mean, they're all kind of metaphors about holding on to things too tightly. I mean, it sometimes it feels like the right thing to do, but it's in fact the opposite. It will make you sick. Like the whole thing, with Mother's Day, and I was getting these various things online. People sending me emails or forwarding stuff, and one of the things said, how to deal with it, and this was for advice for people that lost their mothers when they were young. Mothers are young, like when you're a teenager or whatever, and it's like you miss her, rail, scream, cry, let it out, because you sit there and you're trying to hold it in. That's not good. But we don't really know that when we're young all the time. It's kind of, it's a kind of live and learn thing. I think you can learn it, when you're young, but. Yeah, no, you have to. You have to. I mean, and I'm saying it all like I got it all figured out. Like I always do that. I don't always do that. I walk around sometimes being like, how am I feeling? So mad at myself because I'm feeling like whatever I'm feeling. But I also have resources. I have, certain friends that I go to. One I'm thinking about in particular, who is younger than me and is so wise. So she read my book and she was like, oh my gosh, I call her my guru. Her name is Carmen, and she was a therapist and now she's an acupuncturist. So she's very like Eastern, and all that, and her thinking, Eastern medicine thought. And, I'll go to her and she just helps me so much. And, but when she read my book, she goes, okay, you don't need me. You know what to do. So it was very nice.
Yeah.
But you have your people. You have your people in place. I go to certain friends for, other stuff. I like to dissect human behavior. I have, a couple friends that like to do that. I have, friends who are just, keep it real, and will say to me, call me on my stuff. And, so you have to put your key